Educatedcollins Hearthstone. Like and subscribe. Hello, everybody. How you doing? So I finally got around to making a guide of sorts for duos. So this is going to be a top 6 meta strategies for duos. So generally, this meta, generally, it's just something I think people would helpful. And even if it's not necessarily the comps you play, it's something to learn and just to think about how I'm looking at the games and things like that. So without further ado, let's get started. So we're gonna go in order. I have like tiers. Each comp is gonna be, I think, a little bit stronger. So we're gonna from the strongest and then down just the top 6, and then you there's still a ton of comps to play even if I don't talk about them. But these are just, I think, easier to understand and they make a lot of sense why I think they're particularly strong. So without further ado, first one we have is Quilboars. So Quilboars are just, I think, in duos have the highest potential type board. It's the type of board if you can high roll, nothing really comes close to what you can do with Quilboars. Just even though the comp has changed, Quilboars is still the best in the last meta. And now the meta Quilboars are also strong. Just the ability, what makes it different than solos is that you can replay fruities, I think, and just the pass mechanic allows you to have gems that are a lot higher than you're able to make in solos. So it ends up, no matter what they've tried, it ends up being Quilboars are just omega strong, and it's still the case now. Maybe they'll adjust it. Maybe they'll make bounce not as prominent in Quilboar strategies. But right now, if you can high roll, I think Quilboars are still the best in the business. So when it comes to Quilboars, how I'm gonna do this is how to start this. So a lot of times when you're making comps, people will want to play a particular comp. Like someone will tell them, "Oh, go demons or go Quilboars or whatever," and then they'll try to force Quilboars and then they'll die. What ends up happening is you're missing these key pieces. You can't really force anything out of the box. You kind of need particular key units to say, okay, because I have this key unit, I now can play this composition. So we're gonna have the key units we're looking for in there, and then we're also going to have like an example end game composition. So if you do have the good comp, how do I want to end it up? What does the board should look like? So for Quilboars, I think there are two uh, cards that I'm looking for, two combos. One is just Pokey, tier 5 Pokey. If you can get that, that's pretty much all you need to start. You're getting gems. Like the difference between 1-1 and 2-2 is massive, and then 1-1 and like 10-10, absolutely game breaking in how strong your composition is going to be. Because what ends up happening with Quilboars is each gem is being applied maybe 10 times, right? So if you have a 1-1 buff, you're only getting 10-10. If you have like a 10-10 buff, you're getting 100-100. And if you high roll, you can be applying way more than 10x what your gem buffs are. So having a pokey is one way to do it. The second way is a fruity plus a way to pass. So the most common one is Well Wisher, but there's portals in the shop. There's also some heroes that can do it, Jadis, Goya being very prominent. If you can find a way to just play a fruity and then just keep it on your board and keep replaying that, it's basically a pokey. Sometimes it's better than a pokey because you can pass more than once per turn. So those are like the two, at least for me, the two things I need to see if I want to commit to Quilboars. And then Bristler is kind of your main win condition, since if you can pump this up really high, when it dies, it can summon multiple bodies of itself. So you end up making a huge minion, and then when it dies, it makes two huge minions. Or if you have a Titus or more, you can summon a full board of gigantic minions even after your board is already big. So it's just one of the core pieces you're looking for, and just absolutely hard to deal with if you have a competent Quilboar board. So when it comes to endgame boards, this is kind of what I'd be expecting if you wanted to like be very clean in Quilboars. You want 3 low Quilboars. That's the way to apply gems to all your Quilboars. Then you want Bristlers, and then you want the Crone, just to reapply that. And then you want a Titus or a Maiev, any way to double your death rattles to just reapply them all. And Herald is another thing. It's not a Quilboar itself, but it triggers your 2 leftmost death rattles, and if you have 3 low Quilboars, it just procs. And it also makes your 3 low Quilboars huge. So if beasts are in, you can use Herald, you can use Macaw, and even Macaw with Reborn, it just goes crazy. So this is kind of what I'd be looking for if you're going for Quilboars, and this is just very hard to beat in duos, where it's just so many gems and you're getting so many procs. If you have 1,000 and 1,000 minion that summons 1,000 minions, or 4,000 minions, it's just like, it's very hard to deal with. It's better than shields, right? Like shields can get popped by something, a huge minion can't be popped by random divine shields and things like that. So just a very, very strong comp and something to look out for. Next up, we have Tavern buffing demons. So Tavern demons, this one is really strong because you just get huge stats in the shop, and then you just eat them and you reapply. And what's really nice about Tavern's buffing is that it just keeps scaling. It just gets stronger and stronger the longer the game goes, the stronger you get, since the Tavern just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's just really a really good comp. Once you scale up a little bit, the beginning is a little bit weak, right? If you're buffing 2-2 to the shop, doesn't really matter. But once you're getting like you're buffing 10-10, 20-20 to the shop, and you're able to eat them all multiple times, it just gets huge. And what's really nice is that you can start feeding your teammate, right? If you have like 200 minions and your teammate doesn't have that type of thing, especially if like mechs are in, right? Magnetizers are very easy to just pick up, pass your teammate, and they're huge as well. So it has that secondary effect in duos where if you get big enough, you can also just feed up your teammate and make them extremely strong. Now, end game for Tavern, for demons, is just, you just want more of what's making you strong. So Shadow Dancer, Fellfire Conjurer plus Drakari is like the real is how you really start this comp, right? If we're talking about what really makes this comp start, I really think you need the Fellfire Conjurer. Like, that's the key piece you need. Everything else is secondary. Even if you have Shadow Dancer and Baddie, it's not enough. You need the Fellfire to really start scaling, but you also need a way to buff the shop, right? So the Shadow Dancer is really what lets you do that. So if you're having endgame, you don't really have to change too much. It's just more demons. You want demons so they can eat. You don't necessarily need a ton of demons if you're going Baddie Terror Guards, because Baddie will just eat regardless. But if you're using Felbat, then you want a full board of demons. And if you only have one big demon, you can get Leroy, they can get poison, right? So it's a little bit risky. So having a wide range of minions that can take a couple of hits is particularly nice. Next up, we have Tavern Spell. So what's very interesting about Tavern Spell is it requires the exact same, like some of the key pieces with Tavern buffing. It's Fellfire Conjurer plus Drakari, and then instead of going the demon eating variant, you go the Tavern, the spell buffing variant, right? So Fire Skill Hoarder, Nightmare, Patrol Guard, those are the cards you're really looking for. So it's quite nice because you can, if you get the Fellfire, it pretty much opens multiple compositions. And that's why that card is so important, so key in this meta right now, because it just allows you to make sure that you have a good board. You can go demon buffing, you can go spell buffing, and both are very strong, both are very high tiered compositions to do. So it just allows you to say, okay, I have this key card, now I can do whatever I want from there. So the Fellfire just allows a lot, and then you can go Party, you can go the Naga buffer, either one, both work. So it's pretty clean. So it's just a nice alternative comp. If demons aren't in, you can still do this, right? You just need dragons in, and the Fellfire's in the game, and then you can pick one up, get the Drakari, and go from there. So works regardless. And if you're looking for example end boards, you really just need a way to trigger your spells quickly. So you can go Titus, right? Since they're both battle cries and death rattles, the Fire Skill Hoarder and the Nightmare Party Guest, there's a lot of ways to get multiple copies. You can go Murkai, you can go Titus, you can go Well Wisher and replay it that way. You can just pass it to your teammate and or they pass it to you and just get it that way. Your teammate can pass you spells. So as long as you're just having a good way of getting multiple copies of the spells, then you can just replay them, play a ton of them, and scale that way. So pretty nice, and this is just an example board. I would say like you don't really need Tavern, but Tavern early Spirit Walker is pretty good, especially in the Demon variant, where if you don't have a lot of copies of the Tavern spell card, this can be a second copy every turn, which scales up very quickly. So it's a pretty key card. It got nerfed recently where it used to copy triples, which was absolutely broken, but I think this is a more fairer version of the card. Next up, we have Elementals. So Elementals got nerfed, but even with the nerfs, they're still particularly strong. There's just different ways to play it now. It used to be only end of turn was the only way to play the comp, since it was just oppressively strong, and there wasn't much you had to do. You just had to find the 5 and the 6 in a Drakari, and then you just auto win, and you didn't have to do anything there. But now with this version, buffing the Tavern is actually a respectable way of playing it now. You don't have to buff the Taverns. You can still do end of turn. It's a little bit weaker, but it's still reasonably strong. But now you have the option of buffing a Tavern, having huge Taverns in the shop. That can be your whole direction, or you can just use it as a supporting piece. There's a magnetized elemental that you can pick up and just pump into your board if you want. So there's just different ways of scaling. I would say another thing to keep in mind, Brand is now particularly good in elementals. It was always good, but it wasn't needed. But now with the nerfs, Brand is showing up a little bit more. Where the Sand Swirler is just a pretty good card to replay over and over, just buffing your health. And that just makes everything a little bit tankier, and you can just get really, really tanky minions. And Greasefire is a little bit underrated. I think they overbuffed the card, in my opinion. 4/4 as a baseline is like very, very high. So it's just really good if you can get this early and just have this be your scaling engine, especially with the Drakari. And then you can switch or keep it if you want. They both work. Like, it's strong enough on its own to be your carry, but you can also just have it be a supplemental piece till you find your luck, your Frost Forgers or things. And they buff Frost Forger and now buffs everything. So it says here, I have the old version, but it says give your other elementals. It actually just buffs all your minions, so it's quite strong now, even if you're not fully committed to having a full board of elementals. It buffs your Drakaris and things. So, example, elemental board. You want your light spawns. Those are like the key pieces. If you don't have a light spawn, it's okay. You can just have Greasefire early, or you can just have anything really, just any elemental that scales. You just want to make sure you have some version of elemental scaling. So the Death Rattle will work, the Battle Cry will work, or the Light Spawn is the one that always consistently scales you up. So either one of those three will give you good enough direction to commit. What's really strong is the trinkets usually help you if you're elementals. So if you have if you're mostly elementals in the greater trinket turn, then usually you'll get a pretty good elemental trinket that can make your jobs a little bit easier. Especially in duos, the elemental surprise trinket, it looks a little bit weak, and if you have like deck tracker, the stats look bad on it. But passing has like a very high chance of giving you an elemental surprise. So if you know that and you just pass your teammate, you can pretty much triple all of your elementals very easily. And it's kind of abusive, but you know, I don't know. I've mentioned it, but they haven't really changed the numbers, it seems. So while it's there, you can try doing stuff like that. Next up, we have mechs. So mechs they got nerfed, but they're still okay. They're still not bad to play. They do require a little bit different game plan. Instead of playing tower spells, now you kind of need to find your Kari, find the electrons, and just let the end of turn carry you. So it's still pretty strong because you have access to divine shields. I would say like that's the advantage of playing mechs compared to some of the other like high tier comps. You can have divine shield on everything fairly easily, and your deflectors can get reset, and you can buff the deflectors pretty high tier, so you can just get really, really big mechs if things are going well for you. So mechs are still pretty strong. They're pretty simple. Nowadays, you just need Electron and Drakari, so you just need to hit the tier 6, and if you hit one Electron, you don't have another direction, this is absolutely fine to commit to. And the win condition is these Dr. Boom monsters, usually on your Deflectos, so that you can have a big minion when it resets, when it gets the Divine Shield back, to kill all of your opponent's minions. So pretty simple way to playing Deflecto and Mechs. It's pretty effective still, even with the nerf. So using end board, pretty simplistic. You just want electrons, Dracaris, Dr. Deflectos. And this 2-drop Mechanome Interpreter is just very strong. It got nerfed, but it was too good anyways. I think it deserved the nerf. But it pretty much gives each of your Magnetize a big boost. So every turn you're ending your turns with this Interpreter with the Electron. It's just it's a lot better than a lot of other tier minions, even though it's tier 2. So just keep that in mind if you want to play mechs. This Mechanome is very strong. Basically gives you an extra copy of your tier 6. And then last up, we have Pirates. So Pirates are a little bit they're a little bit harder to play because the whole goal of the comp is to give you a ton of money. So once you have a ton of money, there's a lot of options, right? And sometimes that can be hard to deal with if you're like, oh, I have so many things to do. I have so many plays I can make. What should I be doing? So it's not the easiest to pilot. Sometimes you just run out of time. You know, you only have like 30 seconds or something, and you need to make like 200 actions. But having a ton of money is very powerful and allows you to do a lot of things. You can help your teammate. You can do some crazy things, buy a ton of spells, figure out what you're looking for. Maybe try to fill your board with counter tech cards, maybe a bunch of poisons if you need it, things like that. So just having a ton of money is really powerful, and Pirates are one of the best ways in duos to get a ton of money. So works pretty well. In terms of Pirates, when you're playing it, you really need to find a use case for your money. You can get a ton of money with Pirates, but if you can't really translate the money into power, it's not very helpful. The trinkets can help you a lot with that. There's a lot of money trinkets for Pirates where if you can they just reward you for using money. That can be very effective. So if you keep that in mind, and then also helping your teammates. Sometimes Pirates are one of the best supporting classes because you just have a ton of money. And if you can feed your teammate exactly what they need, you roll it down and find exactly what they need, then it's very strong. Even though you might not be as strong as you want to feel, just being able to feed exactly what your teammate needs is very powerful. So Pirates can be pretty effective that way. So example end game board is your courier, your spacefarer. One of the key pieces to go Pirates is a way to generate money. So like an early grifter, early Rascal with some golden minions, right? Getting some early money that rewards you for staying Pirates. It's one of the ways you end up playing Pirates, and then finding a courier gives you, or dual wield gives you that way of using the money that you get. And then once you have those pieces, then it's a lot easier to come into the Pirates, especially once your trinket pops and it's pirate synergy. So here you just have Courier with Spacefarers. Spacefarers being one of the best ways of having a big pirate minion. Spacefarer is still pretty good. And then Drust buff was also pretty effective, so you can use that as well. So as long as you're just playing pirates, using the money, using your triggers when you can, it can be pretty good. So those are overall those are overall the top 6, but the final thing I wanted to talk about is just like hidden tech people do, and that is abusing Sightseer in duos. So Sightseer is this tier 4 dragon. You increase your team's maximum gold by 1, and it looks a little bit innocent, in my opinion, when you look at it. But honestly, it's so busted, and money wins you games, and this card can generate a ton of gold with the right setup. There's lots of ways in this game right now to replay battle cries. You have Murkai, you have Greenskeeper, you have Rylax synergies. So if you really lean into it, you can do a lot of very, very stupid things where you're gaining 20 plus gold a single turn, and that kind of stuff just makes it makes it very hard for your opponents to deal with your comeback. if they have 10 gold and you have 50 plus, right? Like it gives you so much freedom to do whatever you want while they're still limited to kind of uh, having to continue playing their comp or something like that, right? Let's say you're fighting someone and they have a crazy comp. If you have a ton of gold, you can switch to poisons. If you have a ton of gold, you can try to outscale them. If you have a ton of gold, you can find exactly what tech spell you need, right, to deal with them. You know, if you need beetle spell or anything like that, you can just find all their tech, right? So just being aware of, hey, I could get a ton of money, and finding a way to do that is just very, very strong. So overall, those are the 6 types of the little hidden tech at the end here. I would say if I were to rate them, I would say Quilboars is S, maybe S plus. Tavern's buffing demons S as well. Tavern spell S, and then there's like a little gap here where I would say everything else is a little bit weaker. Maybe elementals A, and then maybe mechs and pirates like A minus, maybe B. So and there's still a ton of other comps you can play, but just looking through what people tend to play, what does well, these are the ones I wanted to showcase or highlight in the meta right now. So let me know what your thoughts about this format. This took a lot of work, way more than I thought it'd do. It's you know, but that's just how it always is. Every time I do any type of long form content like that, it's just more work than I was expecting. But hope you guys enjoyed. If you learned something, let me know. If you have any other compositions you think deserve to be up here, you know, put in the comments. Maybe I'll comment and say, yeah, I agree, or whatever it is. But yeah, take care of yourselves and have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next one. I really like that ending. Okay, bye-bye.